In a small monastery nestled high in the Tibetan mountains, there lived a peculiar monk named Tenzin. Unlike others, who carried themselves with somber discipline, Tenzin was known for his laughter. Whether he was meditating, performing chores, or listening to the grievances of villagers, his deep, resounding laughter echoed through the valleys below. Villagers would travel for miles to seek Tenzin's counsel. Yet, to their bewilderment, he would burst into laughter no matter how grave their problems seemed. A farmer lamenting the loss of his crops, a young woman mourning the end of a relationship, or even a merchant ruined by theft, all left the monastery both perplexed and oddly comforted. One day, a scholar named Dorje arrived, determined to uncover the secret behind Tenzin's laughter. Dorje had spent years studying Buddhist philosophy and believed himself wise in the ways of life and suffering. He approached the monk with a mixture of skepticism and curiosity. "Respected Tenzin," Dorje began, "I have heard tales of your unusual way of dealing with life's difficulties. People say you laugh at every misfortune. Why? Do you not feel the weight of suffering? Or do you mock the pain of others?" Tenzin chuckled, his eyes twinkling like stars reflected in a still lake. "Ah, Dorje, it is not that I mock suffering. Sit with me, and I shall tell you a story." Intrigued, Dorje took a seat by Tenzin, who pointed to the glistening river winding its way down the mountain. "Do you see that river?" Tenzin asked. "It flows endlessly, never stopping to lament the rocks that block its path. When the sun shines fiercely, it evaporates into the sky. And when the rain falls, it rejoices, returning to its source. Life, my friend, is like this river, ever-changing, yet constant in its cycle." Dorje frowned. "But how does this explain your laughter?" Tenzin's smile widened. "Let me share another example. Many years ago, I was not so different from you. I clung to ideas of control, wishing to shape life to my liking. Then one day, my most prized possession, a simple wooden flute, was stolen. I was devastated. I searched everywhere, questioned everyone, and wasted days consumed by anger. One night, as I sat by this very river, I heard its music, the babbling water, the rustling leaves, the chirping crickets. They created a melody more beautiful than anything my flute could produce. I realized then that life's true music lies in its unpredictability. From that moment on, I chose to laugh instead of weep at the twists and turns." Dorje remained unconvinced. "But what of true tragedy, Tenzin? Surely you do not laugh when someone you love passes away, or when faced with unbearable hardship?" Tenzin's laughter softened. "Ah, Dorje, grief is as natural as joy, and I have wept my share of tears. But I do not linger in sorrow, for I know it too is part of the cycle. Just as winter gives way to spring, pain gives way to healing. Laughing at life's impermanence does not mean denying its struggles. It means embracing them as fleeting moments in the grand dance of existence." As the days passed, Dorje observed Tenzin closely. He saw how the monk faced challenges with grace, how he slipped and fell while carrying water, only to rise, chuckling at his own clumsiness. How he received an ill villager with kind words and hearty laughter, lifting their spirits despite their suffering. One evening, a fierce storm struck the valley, flooding fields and destroying homes. Villagers rushed to Tenzin for solace, fearing they had lost everything. Instead of offering empty reassurances, the monk gathered them in the monastery's great hall. "Let us laugh together," Tenzin said, his voice ringing with warmth. "Not at our misfortunes, but at the fact that we are still here, alive to rebuild. Just as this storm will pass, so too will our troubles. And who knows, perhaps the flood has left behind fertile soil for next season's crops." Though hesitant, the villagers joined in. Their laughter began tentatively but soon grew hearty and infectious. In that moment, they felt a spark of hope amidst their despair. Dorje, witnessing this transformation, finally understood. Life was indeed a river, ever-flowing and unpredictable. To laugh was not to deny its hardships, but to find strength in its ceaseless motion. The laughing monk teaches us that life is full of change, joys, sorrows, challenges, and triumphs. Embracing this impermanence with a sense of humor and resilience allows us to find peace, even in the face of adversity. Laughter is not an escape but a bridge to acceptance, reminding us that every storm, no matter how fierce, carries within it the seeds of renewal.